Thanks, everyone. My name is Jen Delaney, and I'm here with my colleague Gemma from the School of Life Sciences. I work in the Careers and Employability team, and we wanted to talk to you about our experience in using technology to develop commercial awareness and digital interview skills for our life sciences students in their second year. So first of all, just a bit of background. So Careers and Employability in the School of Life Sciences work together to embed employability at scale. So our aim really is to bring more employers onto the curriculum and develop authentic assessments that is going to increase the career competence and career readiness of our students, so that really they can begin to draw the lines between their syllabus and the world of work from kind of day one of their studies, so they feel empowered. We had the opportunity last year, as teaching was moved completely online, to reimagine an employability cycle that sits within a whole school second year essential skills module. So we had the opportunity to collaborate with our employer partners and actually use a new video interview software. But before we give you an overview of what the cycle looked like pre-pandemic and how we kind of changed things up, just a quick look at some of the data and reasoning behind our focus to develop digital interview skills and commercial awareness across this kind of student population. So we talk a lot with students about the skills gap, both within the life science sector and the wider graduate labour market. And studies from the Institute of Student Employers show us that commercial awareness is a skill that is in high demand from employers, but is often seen as lacking within newly employed graduates. So, we know that students need good commercial awareness to be successful in the recruitment process, but they also need a good understanding of how a sector works and the challenges that may face organisations to make them more agile and more competent employees. We also know that developing essential skills around using video interview platforms is vital for their digital fluency, with over kind of 71% of employers saying that they're going to keep video interviewing and online assessment centres as a key part of their recruitment process following the pandemic. So we know this stuff is kind of here to stay. Similarly, in a recent employer survey led by Handshake, which is a UK-wide careers platform for employers and students that we use here in Liverpool, 60% of those employers said that they use LinkedIn to attract and screen new graduate talent. So we also know it's really important that our students learn digital networking skills and use kind of online platforms, not only to build commercial awareness as a skill, but also to showcase their experience and have the confidence to do that as they self-reflect throughout their studies. It's also an important way, and we know from employers, to try and level the playing field in terms of social capital. So Gemma's going to give you a quick overview of what the previous employability looked like and how we kind of spotted some gaps to address the we set out for you here.
Okay, so as Jen's already told you, this is a second year module that all students take in life sciences. So that's 420 students approximately on the module, depending on the year. And so within the module, students have small group tutorials fortnightly with their academic advisor. And within these tutorials, they work on study cycles, developing skills. So one of these study cycles is this employability cycle. So in previous years, we've given students a face-to-face lecture on writing job applications, and then students would submit a mock job application for a vacancy that they'd found and have a mock interview with their academic advisor. So as you can see, this cycle did offer us some opportunities for development. In past years, we saw that students weren't necessarily tailoring their application to employers, and the applications that they did submit were lacking in commercial awareness. Also, the fact that the students had this mock interview with their academic advisor isn't really reflective of what would happen in the real world. They know their academic advisors fairly well, and also without having any employer involvement in the module previously, it isn't really kind of authentic of the real world. So we thought this allowed us the opportunity to both bring in employers and to use some of the technology that's been used in real job applications and recruitment now. So Jen's now going to tell you about the changes we implemented this year.
Yeah, so Thanks, Gemma. The main opportunity we saw was to bring employers onto this module at scale by making our school-focused extracurricular employability week that sits in semester one nicely with this cycle into a curricular event that we could make integral to the module and attach assessments and activities to. So students have always been encouraged to attend Employability Week by our academics. So we had the opportunity here to try and break the cycle of students that would opt in to connecting with an employer during this week to an all-in scenario for our second years. So we asked 6 employers taking part in the week to provide short video content around commercial awareness and the importance of it in the workplace and during the application process. Then all students chose one of these employers to research by attending a live panel talk with that employer during Employability Week. The assessment was then split into 2 parts and was made scalable again using the digital interview platform Shortlist Me that Careers and Employability team to have a partnership with. Now, Shortlist Me is a software that's used widely across the graduate labour market and also by some significant life sciences employers like the NHS and AstraZeneca. So it was a brilliant kind of authentic tool that we could bring in to assess students. So students were emailed a link to complete a short video interview focused entirely on commercial awareness. This task was then self-reviewed by the students themselves following a simple rubric that is built into the system. And then the students receive immediate automated feedback through artificial intelligence that gives them tips and ways to improve their pace of talking and use of filler words while doing a video interview. Following this then, our academics marked a written piece of work, which was a tailored application to that employer based on a live vacancy that was readily available on Handshake, again, to try and replicate an authentic process. As part of this task as well, as a build on from what they do in year one, we asked students to review and update their LinkedIn profile and their Handshake profile again, which is our central careers platform, to try and ensure that they were developing those vital digital connections and accessing and having the equality to access of resources that is available to us on our central platform. So yeah, okay. Gemma's going to talk about how we measured impact.
Yeah, so looking at how we've measured the impact of these changes. So we did this really in 2 ways. The first way was looking at kind of student engagement. So we looked at the attendance data for Employability Week. We also looked at the registration data for the University Career Platform Handshake and the number of students who had joined our School of Life Sciences LinkedIn curriculum group, community group, and then submission data. So looking at who submitted the job application tasks, how many completed the video interview, and the data we got from Shortlist Me, kind of looking at word pace and things like that. But we also sent to students a survey, and this was really to explore their perceptions of the introduction of the video interview task, and also to look if there were any barriers to students completing the video interview. And to do this, we used JISC online survey. It was a shortish questionnaire, 27 questions, and we tried to use a mix of open and closed questions and 5-point Likert scale questions.
Yeah, so first of all, in terms of the impact, what we have been able to see following this task is a big increase in engagement in kind of wider employability enhancing activities. So what we do now is that more of our second years than ever before are connecting live with employers. We've seen a 60% increase in the amount of students that attended Employability Week before this assessment was embedded. Nearly all of our second years, 92% of them, activated their personal profile on Handshake, which is almost double the university average and hopefully a great indication of them taking ownership of their employability and accessing further opportunities. Our employers have also told us how impressed they were by the amount of students connecting with them on LinkedIn following the task, and we've seen a massive increase in the amount of students joining the School of Life Sciences LinkedIn community. And not just that, kind of completing LinkedIn learning courses and sharing their own blogs and articles with fellow students online. And also as well, the amount of students that did complete this video interview task, it was 92% completion rate as well.
So now I just wanted to spend a little bit of time going through some of the key findings of our survey. So 39 students completed the survey. And of those students, 39% had never had an interview of any kind before. And of the ones who'd had previous interviews, there was only 10% of them who'd done a video interview before. So it was quite a new experience for the students. But despite this, 90% of the students thought that the software was easy to use. And in terms of the benefits, just a few of the student quotes, but you can see that they liked being able to practice recording their answers. So they were allowed to practice multiple times. So this allowed them to improve their confidence and also perfect their answers. The students also liked being able to self-reflect on their answers and the automated feedback that they got from Shortlist Me. If we now just move on to talking about some of the Likert scale data. So one of the questions that we had in the survey looked at student confidence in completing a video interview. So we asked them to assess their confidence prior to this task and after the task. So this was a Likert scale question. So for the purposes of this slide, though, I've grouped together those students who were very and fairly confident and those who were not very and not at all confident. So the ones who are confident are the pale green, and the not very, not at all confident are the turquoise colour on the graph. So you can see that student confidence in completing a video interview increased from 17.9% to 61.5%. So that was an increase in confidence of around 44%. So we were quite pleased by this. Another of the questions that we asked about was student confidence in demonstrating commercial awareness. So again, we had a similar Likert scale, and I've grouped the very, fairly confident and the not very, not at all confident. So again, you can see student confidence in being able to demonstrate commercial awareness also increased by around 30%.
Yeah, and in terms of how we can use some feedback going forward as well, we had some feedback from students also saying that they wanted more feedback than the automated feedback provided by the platform itself. How many times did I say feedback then? And for the video to have a wider focus than just the session commercial awareness. So, you know, could we include other type of questions such as strength-based interview questions? Now, we can do this, but what we don't want to lose is our focus on developing commercial awareness. So we're looking at ways that maybe we could do both. Perhaps how we could combine students building knowledge around diversity and inclusion in the workplace, which is a big driver for us. And at the same time, building a longer video interview that would focus on recruitability as well as commercial awareness knowledge. The good thing is the technology we use here, and it is used across the university, is really flexible for us to shape this going forward. And the fact that we can use our employers during Employability Week to help inform this task. So hopefully going forward, we'll kind of continue to increase digital fluency among students and commercial awareness as they progress into their third year. So that's it. Thank you for listening. And yeah, just an acknowledge to the students who helped this study possible, and the employers involved as well, and obviously wider colleagues across both of our teams that have helped us with this task.
Great, that was really, really strong. We've got a few questions that have come in from the chat here. So I don't know if you two spotted it, but first up, James said, also confirmed that Shortlist Me is a really strong platform that I think he's using, and we've got a few other people interested in using it in the next year, so that's good. Question from Gail.
Hiya, that was brilliant. It just so happens I had a meeting last week to actually bring in an assessment next year using Shortlist Me. Would you be the people I contact about it? Is there a general email I can email for advice?
Yes, so Careers and Employability, we have the partnership with Shortlist Me, Gail, as a platform, but I know James and Charlotte, you guys use it in chemistry, don't you? So happy for you to reach out to Gemma and I in terms of our experience with using the system, totally. But yeah, we have our data team, brilliant guy, Jason, who basically is the Shortlist Me hero, and he will help you with all of the kind of behind the scenes stuff and setting it up and making it work for you from a from kind of back end.
Sorry, Will, I'm in the management school, so again, it's just a completely different approach. And it was, I know somebody's asked about commercial awareness. I'm actually just going to use it to do a focused question to students of, we're talking about being client facing, accountancy wise. So it was just going to be, if you go out to a client and you're faced with this situation, how would you respond? Literally just like a 5-minute video. But again, what we're finding is in third year, their presentation skills are shocking. So we thought that this would actually be a really good thing. And it's interesting, all of your discussion there and stats about video interviews and confidence, because I think that's something I can really use to sell to them to really get on board with the assessment. So that's brilliant. So I might drop you an email afterwards just to get key contacts to find out about it. But that was brilliant. Thank you so much.
So would the route in be through, is that how Gemma, for example, you got in touch with Jennifer through those contacts with the careers team, or do different schools have different contacts to speak to?
So I think you do have different contacts, don't you, depending on faculties, but yeah, no, we
to
do
help
quite
sort of maybe develop
team.
around it. Yeah, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, Gail, I'll point you in the right direction of your contact faculty wise from Careers and Employability.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much. Thank you.
Now, who was next in the list? Was it James or Jeremy? Who wants to go first?
Let James go.
Okay.
Mine was just a wider comment. Gemma is going to be expecting an email from me at some point, and Jen, because I want to share notes, because I'm talking about very similar things later today. Yeah, if you speak to Charlotte Ford as well, is another route. So she is the career consultant for my faculty, but you know, we've been working together now for a few years, and if you can get two different opinions that we can share and other people can adopt, then that would be really cool. I love Shortlist Me; it's great.
Yeah.
Next, Jeremy.
Just two questions that I'll bundle as one. I always cheat that way, but apologies if you covered this. But how much credit was this module in second year worth?
So this module is a 15 credit module, which is all really coursework. So the new task was around 12.5%, but this module is kind of split into a stats component that's worth 50%, and then the stills component, which is worth the other 50%.
Right, around about 7.5% of credit.
So
sorry, the other point was it's really, really encouraging to see the confidence level of your students go up so much. And not being familiar with this online tool, which I've been Googling while you've been speaking, is there capacity for students to go through it again to improve their confidence even further? And I don't know how many times you took your cohort through it, through it.
So it was the first time we did it this year. So we gave them the opportunity to re-record their answers as many times as they wanted. And then they submitted just confirmation that they had done it. But I think that going forward, we're hoping to build in maybe the academic advisors viewing it and grading it and like scoring it on the rubric. But we really just this year wanted to see if students did the task, because it was only worth 5% of a 10% task. 12.5% task, sorry. So we were quite surprised at how many of them took the opportunity, given how small a weighting we attached. So
that really flew against what you were expecting in a way. Well, you might have been expecting it because I think you felt it was a strong idea from the outset, didn't you? Yeah. That's really fantastic. Well, the rubric you developed it yourself, maybe in line with the other assessment rubric you would have used on the module around commercial awareness, or did you use the employer links maybe in the future, you think, too?
Yeah, so we've spoken about this. So going forward, if we had it built into the system as a rubric to assess students on how they complete the video interview, that can be built into the system for our academics. And we'd lean on what we know from our employers in terms of how we'd set out the mark and within that rubric. But because it's for so many students as well, we had no pilot group with this. We kind of went in with it all. I feel like this has been a good build up to see the engagement from students and then where we can kind of go with it. But I mean, James will tell you there's loads of opportunities to build any kind of rubric that you wanted into the system itself. You can actually pick commercial awareness as a tool, as a rubric that's already built in, but you'd want to change it based on what you're asking your students.
Adapt it and tailor it slightly. Another one from James. James.
Yeah, it was just to add on to the comment. So with Jeremy asked the question of can students go through this a few times. So whilst we used bespoke ones, we've also used, there's a repository of ones that are pre-built by employers, where students can go through and take them. There's literally 30 of them or so, across a whole range of sectors. And they can just do one and then go back and do another one and then go back and do another one. And I put the link in the chat. So our second year students did this year and did a reflection on that. But I've also done where you actually assess the output as well.
Great.
I'm sorry to barge you in, but I just
Yeah.
literally got a Teams message from one of my third year students that completely convinces me that we need to do more work in terms of interview preparation. This is one of my best students, actually. So yeah, great. I think Laura's going to probably plagiarize all of the work that you guys have done, if you don't mind.
Fantastic. So it seems like a really good opportunity of sharing a bit of a community of practitioners around this area, I think, isn't it? Definitely. I think did you have one last question, James? I think you posted a question there about, no, is that answered? Yeah.
Is it Lou?
Yeah, hi Jenny, hi Gemma, thanks for the talk, really good to see. I have a question. If I go to the website, the one, for example, the link James just put on the chat, I see that the student ID is required there to go through the interview. If as a staff I wanted to be nosy and go through the interview myself, what do I do? Do I put my staff number or is any way?
I'm going to call on Jace for that one again. I'll be able to help you with that, Lou. I think there's a way that there will be a way. But yeah, and we'll be able to give you access as if you were a student to practice that.
Fantastic, James. So I wait to hear from you.
Yep.
Great, thanks.
Good stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to see it as well, actually, just for personal interest, obviously. But that's really interesting. Any final questions? So it'd be great, like I said, to hear more about this. And obviously, as we've got such a lot of users here, you know, if your teams are able to put a case study together for the careers and employability team, that'd be great. I'm sure you'll do that anyway. So